Would a Karl Towns trade make sense for this team after next season?
Oh man, I do love Karl-Anthony Towns' game. I love that he's a stretch four, but he's always wanting you leaving. There's always more that I want from him. But I think him and Cade would be pretty amazing together in a little two-man game. I don't know what I'd be willing to give up for him. Maybe that picture becomes a little clearer after this year. It's hard for me to answer this question though, because I got to see how the season plays out.
Mm-hmm.
I think any team would be excited though to have a Karl-Anthony Towns on their roster because he is a good player.
Yeah. So would a Karl Towns make sense for this team after next season? I think contract-wise, I do want to look it up because I know he is on a pretty big deal. I think the player himself, he's a great player, but I'm just looking for like long-term future with this team. And I'm pulling up his contract right now. I do apologize for you guys that are watching live. So, yikes. Yeah, it's a lot. So he's making around $30 million per year with the Timberwolves. I think last season was the first year where he really had like injury, like I don't want to say like he's injury prone, but last year was like the first year because I had him in fantasy that he just wasn't available like all year.
He only played 29 games. I had in fantasy as well.
Yeah, so I like him as a player. I just don't know. Ryan Anton just took the words out of my mouth. Is he a fit in Detroit though? I'm not sure. Is he a Troy Weaver guy?
Not sure. He's better as a center than he was at the four. That's what he played this year. He played at the four, and in those 29 games, lowest rebounding numbers, didn't even get you a full block per game. I mean, he shot. I think he's better at the five because, where he can use that athleticism, use that offensive game of his to go against. And like, it's a great mismatch at the five. He's just kind of an average player at the four. I shouldn't say average, but he's more average at the four than he is at the five. So you have to make it work with him and Duren.
I think this is my next question. What do the Detroit Pistons think of Duren? Is he your franchise center, or is he just a placeholder until someone else becomes available that you want?
I mean, I think Duren athletically, and I think if he figures it out defensively, he could potentially play the four on that side. But again, I don't think you go with two bigs. It just doesn't really work with the Twin Towers lineups in today's NBA, even if they have a stretch game.
Yeah.
I'd have to be out on this, man. I mean, unless Duren is just kind of like a so-so player. Mm-hmm. For right now, as a manager, I think Duren will be much better. So I'm going to have to say no, Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't make sense for this team. Unless he shows me something at the four. If he can give me, 25 and 10 at the four spot with one block per game, sure. But if he's giving me 20 and 8, I mean, the 5 assists are nice. Don't get me wrong. He is somewhat of a player, but I just think he's out of position at the four. Show me what you can do at the four first, and then I think it would give you a clear picture.
I just think a player of his status and the type of player he is something that the Pistons need at the power forward. I would be more open to trading for Lauri Markkanen at the power forward position for the Pistons.
Yeah, because
I know I've mentioned that multiple times this year. I think Lauri Markkanen for me would make more sense, and he probably wouldn't cost as much as a Karl Towns, like asset wise. I don't really think you would have to get up a whole lot of assets for a guy like a Lauri Markkanen. I think with the Karl Towns, Minnesota traded basically all their draft picks for Rudy Gobert, and we'll see if it works out or not. Their first year, they did all right. But, I mean, there were times where Naz Reid was playing better than Rudy Gobert. So, I don't know. I just feel like Minnesota is To me, I think they're in a win now mode because of Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards is special. And I think they have to figure out which players are going to stay on this roster long term and which players aren't. And I wouldn't be surprised if Karl Towns or Rudy Gobert was on the move.
I mean, you can't play them together. That's for sure. Karl-Anthony Towns is a center in today's NBA. Lauri Markkanen's better at the 4 than Karl-Anthony is at the 4. But if you can get Karl-Anthony Towns back at the 5, he's the better overall player. Just because he can take advantage of those mismatches. I mean, yeah, I think he's better at the 5 than he is at the 4. Give me center Karl-Anthony Towns versus power forward Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I just look at Markkanen. And I know people are like, Lauri's price went up because he's averaging 25 points a game. I'm just saying from a star status point, if you're a GM and you have Karl-Anthony Towns and Lauri Markkanen, I guarantee you more teams would offer you more draft picks and compensation for Karl-Anthony Towns than they would Lauri Markkanen, just because of the player he is. Lauri had a phenomenal season this year. I did not see that coming out of him in Utah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. Maybe the Jazz did.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Lauri Markkanen would be a little bit more difficult to get just because he had a 25-8 season and Karl-Anthony Towns coming off the injury, but also it was his worst season statistically than his rookie season was his worst. But I mean, he was a rookie, but that was his worst season since his rookie year. He's at the NBA.
No, he's a good player, man. He really is.
No, they both are, but I think Karl-Anthony Towns is better as a center than he is as a power forward.